Greetings. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter.
Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter. I'm Sean. Next to me, of course, is my girlfriend, Rich. Rich, wave
I won't
hello.
respond to that.
Wave hello. Wave
Say
hello.
it again.
You just did respond. That is a response. Then on the far side there, we have, of course, Mark. There he is, Mark C. That's how you wave. That's how you wave. And of course, in the middle there, normally I would have a full story for you, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's been a week. So I'm going to give you something that you can just kind of fill in. Okay, give you a flavor and you can paint it in your own mind. All right. I was thinking something Legends of the Fall with him as Tristan, trying to save, say, Robbie as his brother. What was his name? Steven, something like that. The one who got caught in the barbed wire in the First World War. And as Tristan is running at him, yelling no, the machine gun nest opens up on him for like a good minute. As Brad Pitt is running towards his brother, crying no. So think of Kelly as Tristan, lost in his own emotions for, say, what was it, a decade or so. Him naked in a bed with two women, what looked like Polynesian women on some sort of merchant vessel in the middle of the Pacific as he's trying to find himself. And then
running away from his sorrows.
That's right. Coming back to his father, Anthony Hopkins, who has now had a stroke and can only write things on a little chalkboard. I give you the K-Man. There he is. See? It was making me laugh so much thinking of you with those golden locks coming riding in on a horse, Kelly. Tristan's back and seeing K-Man riding by with those.
That's right. Touching the brim of his hat in the rain and watching the raindrops come flying off.
Don't worry, folks. You know this is what you came for. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the picture of Robbie caught in the barbed wire getting taken out by the machine gun nest and Kelly running towards him with the golden hair in the military yelling no was just almost too much. I really need to, I wish I had a version of AI where it doesn't, care about the faces so that you could put Kelly's face on Tristan and Robbie's face on the brother. That would be an amazing picture. So thank you for that thought, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. All right. Thanks for coming, folks. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, I'll flesh something out better next time. But I thought that was a pretty good one, actually, in theory. So who knows? Maybe I'll do it later once I've forgotten. I wanted to ask, for those who have it, the big news, of course, has been Space Marine, which I think, Space Marine 2, by the way, the game. I think the other day I saw a article saying that they had reached, 2 million?
2 million.
Online, something like that. 2 million online players or something. And that they're actually doing really well as far as retention and activity for the game so far. I have not played it yet. I've downloaded it. But as we were talking about before the show, my week was interrupted by foolishness of the highest order, and I hadn't had a chance to take part of that yet. So I wanted to see what you thought of it. You and the K-Man have been taking part in that nonsense. What do you think?
You want to start, Kelly, or you want me to do it?
No, you go ahead, man.
I heard there was some big deal with the download, like straight away or something like that. And something about there's matchmaking issues because you can't have two people of the same class and that kind of thing.
Okay, well, I had no issues at all with the download. I had 93 gigabytes downloaded in about an hour.
No. Some download like after it. Like immediately after it, you had to do something else. Oh, okay. All right.
No issues whatsoever. But then I had early access to it. I had it 4 days before everyone else, the general populace. So I guess maybe the servers weren't under as much strain. I find the game to be a breath of fresh air based on Games Workshop's recent behavior for their their efforts to kind of make Warhammer 40,000 less grim and dark and more open and inclusive to others.
So this is more of the grimdark
It
that
is
you're familiar
traditional
with. More of
40K.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Traditional 40K.
Is it
The
similar
game,
to in atmosphere to the first one?
oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very it starts out it with action immediately for the introduction and the tutorial. It throws you right in the thick of things, and it gives you a few twists and turns that you wouldn't really have expected, given the recent stuff they've been doing. They did a good job with Dark Tide. I say this is a step up from Dark Tide,
Okay.
in terms of just initial presentation. Dark Tide got better as time went on. This came out of the gate with a full head of steam. The control system is pretty intuitive. There's a few quirks. One thing that was really throwing me for a loop was zooming with the bolt gun. It seems like it doesn't really tell you this. It's less of a zoom. It's not like a telescopic zoom. It's more like a close-up look, like you have in Gears of War. But it says zoom.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, there's another setting, right? It must go further. No, it just kind of takes you from right third person to just kind of over the shoulder, and that's it.
So more inline than actually zoom.
Yeah,
I got you.
The controls themselves are pretty accurate and responsive.
Take your time. Think it through. Get it right. No, not yet. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm back. Yes, I saw.
Okay.
I saw it drop out. There's a bit of a learning curve for the combo system for weapons. Each weapon has different combos you can do with it. I believe the controls are all the same for each one. So if you learn one set, you've got them all, but there's different effects for each weapon.
Okay. Is it kind of the or have they introduced it yet? Is it kind of the same thing as the first one, where if you do enough damage in a over time, you get to do this overpowered frenzy?
Yeah, you have an execution. Yeah.
Okay.
They have executions, and you have abilities. So you have active and passive abilities that you can activate, that you build up. Energy,
are they aggressive?
My ability seems to be to die. That's my ability. Death.
Okay.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah. It is the Tyranids are the computer intelligence they use for the Tyranids is actually very tactical and smart. They behave like Tyranids, so they'll throw in Ripper Swarms, and then you'll get Termagants, and then you get Gaunts, and eventually the node creatures, you'll see them in the background kind of directing, like, you go over there, and then they'll come storming in with a special weapon or hit you with a Weber or a Barb Strangler, or very.
I'm
very
interested to see how the Barb Strangler looks, because that's always been. I think that's been one of our old time favorites, for a long time.
Yeah, they have
just always the notion of it,
Yeah, they have all that stuff. It's very good, but it's like Kelly said, it's real easy to die.
Super.
It's very easy to die.
Are you playing it on? Are you doing it like we normally do and should do? Play it on the hardest level? Or
no, I'm not playing on Sean level. Nobody plays on Sean level like
Nobody plays on Sean level. I don't find that enjoyable at all.
No,
there are.
I want to play on the kindergarten level, like I've waded into a kindergarten class and it's just swinging toddlers left and right.
I've only played it on normal just to make sure that everything functioned. I haven't really gone into the campaign at all. I did the introduction, which was hard enough, and then just dropped down to the first planet a few times, but that was it. I'm waiting for you guys to come on, because you can have 3-man teams.
Mm-hmm.
So, playing with the AI bots are kind of generic. They fight okay, but you can direct them. You can give them orders, basically, but they're not real bright.
They were pretty much like that in the first one too. I remember. Yeah,
they're not very bright. Go ahead, Kelly.
No, I found the controls were the hardest part to get used. I mean, through the tutorial, every step you take comes with some other pop-up sort of message of how to do something. And so you really have to think through sort of the button sequence of what you're going to do in any sort of matchup. Super easy to die. The Tyranids were bloody everywhere from the first cutscene where the Tyranids showed up. I just thought, well, this is going to suck, and it did. It hard.
And that's on the normal setting.
I'd love to see Kelly's written report back to HQ. I was thinking this is going to suck, and then it did.
I mean, it was. There were points where I got super frustrated at the game because I just thought, this is, and it's on normal. It's on normal setting. I mean, I'm with Mark. I like to march in there and actually feel like I'm a space marine, and not some initiate from some sort of Catachan planet. Death World being thrown into the mix with a combat knife. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It took me 10 minutes to figure out how to use a melee attack because I'm like, wait a minute, the right trigger's not doing something. It wasn't until it told you what to do that you finally sort it. And then you promptly get your butt handed to you. Like whatever it told you to do was the least effective thing to do in that moment.
That sounds very Imperium.
Yeah. Well, then then there was the frustrating part. Not to give it away, but I already talked about it with Rich. Was this point where you have to launch a virus bomb? And I mean,
I heard about that.
The sequence you have to go through.
Oh yeah.
You need the Archmagos approval to do a thing, and you're talking to the machine spirit, and I was like, how did these people ever beat Horus? There's no way with all of this crap going on.
And how I always pictured the machine spirit sounding was like Moses out of the Super Best Friends.
They do speak Benheric, which is actually really interesting. You get to hear Benheric from the Mechanicum.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting. It's machine language for sure.
Oh, that's good. I was going to ask visually, how does it look? Because I heard it looks expansive.
Yeah,
it does. Great. I mean, you're kind of on rails a bit.
That's what they said, but they said it looks big.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's some real scope shots where you kind of get a sense of how big everything is. Backgrounds and such. Apparently, at some point, you get to see an Imperator Titan. I didn't realize that, but it's in a background shot somewhere.
Well, they had a Titan in the first one.
Yeah.
But Imperator, Imperator's never been seen in modern form.
Yes, I know. I'm saying they had a Titan in the first one, so it makes sense they'd have another one in here as kind of like a callback for that. If nothing else.
My one big criticism, other than Tyranids are just difficult to fight because there's so many of them, is that I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4, been going back through that, and I miss having that open world capability, and I really wish the Games Workshop games had that a little bit more. Less rails, more let me explore a space.
Yeah,
I think we'll get that in the PvP. We're just in the campaign mode right now, so
maybe. The thing I was thinking though is that they've never had the success with video games that a Halo has had, or Doom, or any of that. So I think they've always been kind of hesitant to put in the resources necessary to really open it up. But I think if this first Space Marine was actually, I think, fairly well received, and then Dawn of War, and that sort of thing. So they've had a little bit more success. I think maybe if this one takes off, then they might start opening things up. Because I've always found. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said it's taken off. There's no if it takes off, it's definitely.
Well, what I mean is but it's going to have to sustain itself. You know what I mean? So the if they have that, I think then you'll have an exploration of more of those areas. I would love to see something like that, more of an open arena, sandbox to play in, But think about like Inquisitor Martyr and that sort of that stuff didn't really. It's accepted, but it's not big. You know what I mean?
Dark Tide was the same way. I mean, it was kind of you had a pretty decent sized space to run through, but you were directed. Everything it was Necromunda alleyways and stuff like that.
Something
Look, just call me when Fire Warrior 2 drops. That's what I'm waiting for.
See, that's the thing with their games. This is the thing with Games Workshop, is that their games have always been a slight step at the very least behind where everybody else is. So I remember, like you said, Mark, with Fire Warrior, I remember when I went and saw that and they were doing the demo of it at Games Day. And I remember telling Drew, because he was still working there, I remember telling Drew, I don't like the key thing. That's very Doom, and that was old even then, And when it came out, I remember that was one of the biggest criticisms, was this is like you're playing Doom, but in the 40K universe. Fine, but that would have been great 15 years ago, not now. And so I think the Rails thing is very Gears of War.
It feels a lot like Gears of War to me. It does.
I give you that, yeah.
And so I think that them being slightly behind on that, maybe if they have some more success with this, maybe they'll open it up more. I don't know.
And I think with something like Tyranids, I mean, you've got swarms of these things, ravaging the planet. When I pull out a bolter and I shoot something, I want to see more from a bolter, right? I mean, you come to expect something from a bolter round that's supposed to be explosive on impact, and it shouldn't take as many shots to take some of these guys down as it does. And I get you're trying to make a game challenging, but the challenge with Tyranids is that there's so many of them.
I was going to ask you how the armaments look in this game.
They look great. Look good, yeah.
The effect and the sound effects, and
Oh yeah. No,
I think the chainsword sound effect could be stepped up.
Yeah, the chainsword effect is kind of in the background. I'd say the bolt guns. I don't know. I think the bolt rifle. A bolt pistol is actually honestly going to be less effective. You start out with a bolt pistol and a chainsword, but you get a bolt rifle very quickly on. The bolt rifle seems to do pretty good effects. Like one bolt round takes out a gaunt or a gant. It's just once you start getting into the larger hive organisms that they start to take a few more shots.
Let me ask you something. Don't you think the whole thing about having to find and unlock, or now you're given the special this or that kind of armament, don't you think that it's time for that to be put to bed? If you're going to be part of some special team, right? Whether it be Special Forces, Space Marines, something like that, why are you going to restrict someone that you're asking to take on this role, right? You're trying to suspend disbelief. You are now this Marine and all that. But we're not going to give you everything yet. Here, take this chainsword. Take this bolt pistol. Why not give you a chance to just pick the armor right off the bat, what you're going to use?
Well, you can do that later on, but at the beginning of the story, it makes sense. You basically get split apart from. You're a strike team that gets split apart. You all have your individual armaments to start, because each.
So why not give you the option to arm yourself with what you want from the beginning? That's what I'm saying.
Right. That's right. I want Terminator armor with lightning claws and every finger having its own Jacaro digital defense laser that I can deploy to the planet and use.
If you're going to be able to get it at some point in the game, right? If you're going to be able to get it at some point in the game, you can. Why not do it at the beginning? I think it's poor design to restrict someone on the availability of the options because you're not good enough to write a game.
No, I disagree with that. It's a video game, not real life, right? In real life, you went through SEAL training and whatever, and they're like, "Cool, man, get what you want." There's nobody restricting, a real life special operations person from having the gear they need to do their job. This ain't that. This is where we've sold you a video game and we want you to play it, right? Yeah. And so you want to play it more to unlock the skins, the armor upgrades, the weapon upgrade. Like, that's the ecosystem of playing a game, is the more I play it, the cooler stuff I get. And we've seen that across video games, right? You get in, whether it be, Halo, or whether it be the Call of Duty franchise or whatever, the more you play, the more perks you unlock and open up. That is the state of the industry. I don't think some 10-year-old kid who just got Space Marine 2 should open it up and have Terminator armor and lightning claws and Jacaro digital defense lasers the first 5 minutes playing the game.
No, but I should.
Kelly should, obviously.
See, I would disagree on the fact that
and you would be wrong.
First two things. First, I said
Mark.
any team, not just Space Marines, but any team with SEALs and all that. Because in Call of Duty and all that, you're supposed to be super secret, ultimate born level kind of, that sort of thing. Why not write a game that's going to be challenging, regardless of what they have? Because you can do that. Why not write a game that's going to be challenging regardless, and give them the ability to try out all these things from the very beginning? Some stuff will work great, some won't. Different tools, different jobs. You got to figure that out as to what's going to work best. I think that's awesome. One of the things I've loved about games that have given me the option to do that, like Skyrim and that sort of stuff, it was still challenging, even though I was able to go in there and get all these things that I wanted to get right off the bat. I could do that.
I can tell you honestly, in this game, had I left the battle barge with a heavy bolter, I still would have had my butt handed to me by the Tyranids, right? So I kind of agree with Sean, is that you should have this. I mean, you are Space Marines, right? You should have this loadout, and veteran Marines at that. So you should have this loadout deploying to the planet, knowing that as the Tyranids, you could kill 1,000 of them, and there's still 1,000 of them that are just ready to rip you apart. So I mean, it's sort of that at the end of the day.
Now, I agree with you, Mark. If you're going there as you said, as an initiate or some guard level character or something like that, okay, I can understand plausibly. There's going to be, you were dictated to, this is what you're taking, this is what you got, that's it. Very Russian-esque, just get out there with the numbers.
You get the rifle, you get 5 rounds of ammo, go.
Yeah, do your thing. Good luck to you, right? Stalin believes in you, that kind of thing. But when you're talking about like the Space Marines or Navy SEALs or any of that sort of thing, man, it kind of takes me out of the moment and makes me feel like I'm playing just another video game when I show up and here's your chainsword, here's your bolt pistol, hit X to do this, hit, that, it kind of takes me out of the moment.
No, there have actually been a lot of cutbacks in the military. And the last time they deployed SEAL Team 6, they had some pistols left over, some old, Glock 17s and Mall Ninja swords. Rifle. That's all they had left in the armory. And so they parachuted in, and that's all they had. They had to scrounge and pick up things on the ground in there. Like, bling, bling, bling. And now I have an AK.
And as they ran over it, it suddenly showed up in their arms, right?
Yep, that's right. Bling.
They had to find health packs and everything. No, I mean, look, in the opening cutscene, when the Tyranids land on the planet and they cut to some planetary defense force guy staring up at the sky, it's going to suck for that guy, And at that point, I'm thinking he should just kill himself, because I mean, you're going to be of no use.
Doesn't even report it in, just sees that, bam.
Just forget it, right? But as deploying as a Space Marine veteran, I expect to be able to wade into combat and hold my own a bit in that combat. Now, granted, part of that is playing the game. I have to get better at the controls for the game, but I should have the armaments going into it to do quite a bit. Is my thought.
Yeah.
Look, if you need more than a blessed bolt pistol and chainsword,
right,
to carry out the Emperor's will, then I feel like your faith is lacking.
Yeah, give me a shuriken catapult.
I'm looking for my my Inquisitor patch, and
your box
that hasn't been unpacked either, so I can't even show the heresy patch.
This, by the way, from the guy who would immediately steal somebody's bionic eye and use nothing but heavy weapons.
Correct.
Yeah. In all of his battles in the league. But
I didn't start with that, though. I earned it.
The thing I should find is like a vortex grenade, right? That's what you should find.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't have to go find a bolter.
Yeah, or a heavy bolter.
All right, you convinced me. This game sucks. I'm canceling my order. I never want to play it.
Or conversion beamer, or any of that. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, they do have a Volkite pistol coming, so
But it is interesting to see a game with the Tyranids and get to see Tyranids, see that play out a bit. What would that potentially look like? Tyranids swarming a planet and have that in a game is really interesting.
See, that's what I was looking forward to, is that, because I've thought about that. Like you said, Kelly, the way it's always been described in the universe was this, even an arm, just a small tendril of, the Hive Fleet was billions of creatures. And you have one planet that has, like Earth, say, 6 billion people. Man, that's an invasionary force that is bar none, because how many of them? I'm sorry.
Everything it consumes is being fed back into the machinery to produce more of itself. And so, I mean, I don't know. I felt like I was facing that. I mean, like I told Rich, before we started recording, I said, there's this one spot where these Tyranids come swarming in while you're waiting to do a thing, and I just stood there on the platform looking down at all these Tyranids swarming in and thinking, the hell am I supposed to do now? And I feel like that would be the feeling, right? I just start throwing frag grenades, hoping for the best.
Right. But see, that's one thing I'm really liking about what I've seen so far, with the previews and the playthrough videos or whatever, because the lore says it's going to be like that. Playing the actual game, you're like, oh, look, there's 2,000 points of Tyranids across from me.
Right.
It's not an overwhelming swarm, because war games typically you have even sides, and I never quite understood that. The original cover of the Rogue Trader, book was not a one-sided or an evenly matched, forces going against each other. That was a desperate, battle to the last man, which is evocative, right? And I kind of like that. And when you look out history, it's not like, the Iraqis have 100,000 men. Let's just deploy 100,000 of our own men to fight them. No, man, we're rolling in with tanks and air superiority and all this kind of thing. Now that might make for a not as fun wargaming experience if you're on the other side of that. So, like, I get the even things, but 2,000 points of Tyranids against your 2,000 points of Marines is on the tabletop is not what we're seeing in the video game. And that's one thing I like about this video game, is you really get this sense of, this planet is screwed. This
totally. That point system is so imbalanced. I mean, it is you versus a million of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, at one point I'm fighting through, and I'm thinking to myself, back to the books where the guy's saying, no backward step as he protects the bridge, and I was like, to hell with that. Taking many backward steps.
Backward right to the battle barge. Let's get out of here.
Kelly's throwing the codex at him.
That's right. Only backward steps.
As he's running out the back of the bridge.
And they shall know a little fear.
A little, yeah.
It's a good game.
Kelly would say a sensible amount.
A sensible amount.
Yeah.
An appropriate amount of fear.
An appropriate amount. And good luck to you. The other thing I wanted to find out about, because I still got to play Space Marine, of course, but it also made me think about Romulus. I have not been able to see that yet. And I've heard
that would be the alien Romulus movie you're referring to.
No, the Roman Romulus.
The Roman Romulus. Yeah. I haven't played that one.
No, not a play. It was actually a guy.
Oh, okay.
No, Alien Romulus. I was wondering, because I've heard a lot of differing views as to whether it was good or not. And I wanted to get a good opinion, a good honest opinion, a good take on whether it's worth seeing or not. And since I can't find anybody I trust, I figure we'll ask Mark. And then we can infer the opposite. How many tow trucks would you give it on tow trucks pulling Bumblebee?
What's my tow truck pulling Bumblebee scale? Is it on a scale of 5 or 10?
On a scale of 250.
250. I give it a solid 125 tow trucks towing Bumblebee. It is middle of the road.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. Okay. It was fine. It was okay. It didn't break a whole lot of new ground. Visually, fantastic. They're making great new movie, with the visual effects, and it really felt like the set design and everything felt like you were in the Aliens universe. You know what I mean? It wasn't super high tech or it was high tech, but in that 1980s way on screen. You know what I mean? With the buttons and the things, and it wasn't super slick. So the set design and all of that, it looked really, really good.
Like we got
the building was fine. It was good. went out of their way to pull what I believe they consider the best bits from all of the other movies and stick them in this one. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I had heard.
Yeah.
Was that there was a lot of fan service.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fine. It was good. It was okay. I'd probably go see it again, like if my wife wanted to go see it. And that's one of my higher, if I liked it enough to go see it another time, then it was a pretty good movie, right?
Did it open up the future for possible follow-on movies, or do you think it's not strong enough for that? Because I know about the ending. I know about that.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of postulating, well, this could open up, a whole different branch of, the movie or the universe for exploration and that kind of thing.
I don't know. I must be missing something because, the gist of it is the company got the alien from the first movie,
right,
and brought it to this space station, and there was a bunch of face huggers that they were, had in cryo sleep or whatever. And so this group of space kids goes up to this abandoned space station to get some cryo tubes so that they can escape. They're like, we hate this planet. We want to go to this other planet. It's 9 years away or something. So we need cryo tubes to sleep for the trip. And there's some abandoned cryo tubes up there. Hilarity ensues. So they go on this space station. They accidentally unleash some of these alien face huggers, and now you got this monster in the house where we're stuck on this space station with a bunch of aliens, and et cetera, et cetera. Interesting premise. I'm digging it. Like, I was liking it. One of the characters is an android, artificial person, whatever they're calling him, but he's damaged. Like, he's not functioning at 100%. And that actor, I think, did an excellent job, because at one point they take another android's like chip and put it in him, and it like upgrades him a little bit, and so he goes from being like kind of goofy and innocent to much more competent, and so the actor did a really good job of playing two versions of the same character. Some of the stuff they had him do, I was like, okay, whatever. He has that very famous line, "Get away from her, you bitch."
Yeah.
And he delivers it in his own way, and it was fine, but it was, I think the writer's room thought it was going to be cooler than it actually ended up being.
I think they should have told it from the reverse. I want to see an alien movie told from the alien's perspective, because I think they're being misunderstood. Little alien love story. They're trying to have a bababy. Humans come in and interrupt the whole thing.
Yeah, you're messing it up. Yeah, like I said, it had some interesting stuff. I don't want to go into all the bazillion details or whatever. It was fine. It was very middle of the road. It was not, like I said, I'd give it a 5 or a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I thought it was good. I thought the actors were all fine. They were a little young. Like, I've heard comparisons to that first movie. Like, the first movie, it's space truckers.
Yeah.
Like, each of those people, you kind of get a feel for who they are and what they're. What
much
they're about,
more realistic people.
And they're meshing together and whatnot. Yeah. And in this one, a little less of that.
That's what I heard. It's a little more Friday the 13th ish as far as the characters who were there. They're kind of like fill in the spots so they can be killed later on, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then, like I say, up to a point. You're like, oh, we go on the space station. Aliens got out. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Now we got to survive all these aliens and blah, 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 blah. And then it gets to a point where you think the movie's over and they got their cryo tube and the survivors, no spoilers, are like, yeah, we're going to get away. And then the movie does like another 20, 30 minutes where you're like, huh? How did this happen?
That's the part I was talking about. Yeah. That
I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is not where I thought it was going to go, and I think it kind of goes off the rails at that point.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, like so it didn't find purchase with you, that last act.
It didn't. And if we're getting spoilers, one of the characters comes into this pregnant, right? She's pregnant when they go up there.
Womp womp.
They're doing all this stuff. They're trying to get away. And I guess so what the company was trying to do was like, hey, these aliens are this perfectly adapted organism. humans are frail and they get sick, and colonizing all this planets just ain't working out because people keep getting sick and dying, and it's tough. But if we can mix the DNA with these aliens with some humans, man, we can make superhumans that can survive all of this crazy stuff. And so one of the bad guy artificial characters was like, oh, you've got to save this, the point of this project was saving this goo. And so for whatever reason, the pregnant girl injects herself with this goo, and so of course that accelerates the pregnancy. And so rather than her going to sleep in this cryopod for 9 years, she basically gives birth to this hybrid alien thing that then for whatever reason kills the mom. I was like, well, that's very biologically funny. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay, whatever. And then there's this final kind of fight between our protagonists and the new alien hybrid thing that was kind of, it's a little bit almost, I was about to say it's kind of like Terminator when he comes out of the burning truck. You think he's dead, but he's not. It's kind of like one of those kind of James Cameron. You think the story's over, but here's a new bad guy. And of course, it's all gross
like
looking.
A Terminator being born. I had a whole vision of
but then there was, it was done better in the other Alien movie, which was it Resurrection?
Resurrection,
yeah. I thought it was done better in that one. So, but again, it felt like, oh, we pulled this concept from that movie, and this concept from that movie, and this concept from that movie, and we put them all in here. So again, for somebody who's never seen any of the other Aliens movies and they saw this, I think they would get poor, watered down derivative highlights of the other movies.
But you said at the beginning they now maybe I misheard you, that they told the story from the perspective that they captured the alien from the first movie?
Yes, in the beginning, a probe or something goes to the Sulaco wreckage not the Sulaco. What was the name of the ship in the first movie?
That was it.
Was it the Sulaco?
Yeah.
What was the one from Aliens?
Sulaco was the military ship.
Yeah, that was the one from Aliens. Yes.
Yeah.
Nostromo.
Nostromo. That's it. So it goes to the Nostromo wreckage because you see a piece of wreckage floating in space that says Nostromo on it, and they grab this alien that was like
bumper.
It was like hibernating or whatever, and they bring it back and they cut open this shell that has the alien in it, and they're like, aha, we got an alien. So the alien that they started all this was the one from the original movie that they grabbed and brought back to this black research station, and hilarious, which is why I'm like, okay, I don't know if that opens up all of these other movies or whatever, because in the end that whole station crashes into the rings of the planet and is destroyed.
Oh, okay. All
right. And
oh no, it's spoiled.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, no spoilers. But like I say, it was fine. There was some conveniences where a ship crashes, but it just happened to crash into the docking bay and it is still flyable, but now they got to get to the other side of this abandoned space station, and they're going through the bad things, and it's got like a part where the alien hive is in there, and like from Aliens, that kind of thing. So but it was really creepy going around an abandoned space station that is full of like aliens and whatnot. So
it just sounds like it was a missed opportunity, though. From the way you're describing it, it just sounds like a missed opportunity. It sounds like maybe condensed. Here you go. If you never saw the other alien stuff, here you can experience a lighter version of it in the theater and a quick condensed version. And now you're up to speed kind of thing is what it sounds like. And it would have been good more as a streaming kind of thing. But it's a shame because I think the alien universe has a lot of potential that has never been realized outside of the first one. The first one was good that way.
That's everything in sci-fi for crying out loud. I mean, talk to me about a sci-fi franchise that hasn't missed opportunities.
Well, it all leans back to Dune.
All of them.
Yeah, that's never missed an opportunity at all. Every
that's
Dune,
what they're all trying to copy is the missed opportunity that Dune did, and they figured, well, that must be the right way to do it.
Correct.
Yeah, but Sting's not available for all of the movies that want him.
Well,
No, perfection.
Yeah, no, it was a missed opportunity. It was good for what it was. Visually, it was great. It was a good time. Catch it on streaming. I don't think you'll be terribly disappointed, but it wasn't what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? Like, what we wanted is a rated R horror-ish version, because the setup is a horror movie, right? Oh, look, young teenager, young, I don't know how old these kids are. They're not teenagers, but they're young, right? Which is typically
40. They're all
in horror movies, right? They're trapped on this, space station, and there's aliens and face huggers, and so like the ingredients are there for, I think, a really cool, compelling, self-contained story. And unfortunately, I don't think it quite delivered what I was hoping, and what I think everybody was really hoping from the franchise. I think the actors were fine, but they were all kind of young, and they were all kind of like fine. You know what I'm saying? But like the girl in this movie is not Sigourney Weaver. She's not meant to be. I think everybody did a fine job.
It sounds like they just played it too safe.
Maybe, yeah.
Based on Mark.
I don't think that ending was safe. I think that ending was, let's go for it, and it didn't work.
Kelly gives that movie one phallic tongue.
Phallic tongue, just based on a secondhand description from someone who's trying to be generous.
That's right.
Well, because you're always very generous, I'm always very critical. So I have to take from you. I mean, I think we're meeting in the middle at one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a shame, man. That really is. I
know. Yep, it is. I wanted more, and I didn't.
But I feel that I've been disappointed by the Alien franchise a lot. From Aliens, right? That was the last good one they made. I know Sean hates it, but I think it was the last good one they made, and it's been like a sort of a just a steady downhill from there.
I agree, and much like the Star Wars prequels and even the Star Wars follow-on trilogy, there's parts of it that you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it doesn't overcome the whole package of being like, wow.
And I will have you know, I showed Aliens without any preamble, without any input or anything like that to Lady Nyla up at work, young lady who has not seen that before. I've been showing her. Remember, I told you, I've been showing her some of the greatest hits, right? And showed her Alien. Then she watched Aliens. And I asked her as she was watching it, what do you think? What do you think? And she said, oh, I like this. I might like it a little better than the first one at first. And then after she finished it, she said, what do you think? She said, no, there were some things in there that gave me trouble. Like she had an issue with the whole bonding thing between Sigourney Weaver and Newt that took place so rapidly, so quickly, that Newt is sitting there saying, Mommy. By the end, she was like, I don't know. That just seemed really forced, that would take place. And the fact that they're sending this special, response team of Marines out there to handle this alien, and they don't know a thing about them. They haven't had a debriefing at all until after they wake up and have their Wheaties and all of that. Then they sit down to talk to Ripley for about, 2 minutes to laugh at her and poke fun. And that's all she was like, I can't imagine any special ops team or response team going to check on some other planet with a possible xenomorph, issue.
I can. They're all like that. This is what I do for my day job. But that's how it is. We just make fun of the briefers when they come in to tell us about the danger.
She brought up so many of the things that I was talking about with it. Those are the things that give me an issue with it. And I didn't have those issues when I first saw it, when I was young and saw it in the theater. But over the years, as I've watched it, I'm like, oh, come on. Really? That's just, the first one was so realistic. And the second one was so 80s action flick.
Okay. It was You're not wrong. You convinced me. I hate it now.
Thank you. I feel sad that I've ruined your childhood.
You've ruined it. When I was 16, I saw it. It was the best movie I'd ever seen. Yeah. I loved it so much. Yeah. And now I hate it.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't listening. I still like it. So
yeah. Well, Kelly's still.
Never mind. Now I listen to Kelly and I love it still.
Kelly's still in the pipe 5x5.
Did I tell you the story? Like one of the first.
Where's Spunkmeyer?
For the nerdy T-shirt. I did a little comic book show up in Maine near my sister's where she lives. And we went up there. It was like the first convention I ever did. It's a tiny little one. I'm selling some T-shirts. And there's this girl next to me in the booth next to me. And it wasn't like a booth. It was just a bunch of tables. And I had these 2 tables and she had like those 2 tables. And her hair's all a mess. And I swear, I'm looking at this girl and she's doing knickknacks and she made candles and things like that. But I'm looking at this girl like, is she living in her car? Like, like, is she homeless? Like, what's going on? And then only later on in the show was she holding up a plushie face hugger and screaming when somebody took a picture. She was dressed up like Newt. And she went from like, is this girl homeless, to that is the best costume I've seen all weekend. Like, I think I got a picture of it somewhere, but I was like, oh, bravo. Like, it was a really, really good Newt impersonation.
Turns out she was living in her car.
Yeah, she may have also been living in her car and like married the 2 together. I don't know, but way to commit to the role.
I think honestly, I think Newt was part of the problem in Aliens. You could have had her taken out of the movie and had a much better movie overall.
But how would we know that they mostly come at night? Mostly.
You could have read it out of her diary.
True. These are facts.
Okay, now I hate it again.
Like all girls, she journaled, and she journaled that. There you go.
Mm-hmm. They mostly come at night, mostly next to like a drawing of a flower or a cat.
You're right. And next to that, her dead body with the chest burst open.
Right, and then there's like a map of the air ducts.
Of the air ducts.
We'll just follow this.
Correct. These all sound correct.
That's it. Well, let's just remake the movie. Let's just do that.
Man, that would be nice. The thing is, like I said, the first one was so much more realistic, The first one was gritty and real. Like I was like you said, those people were like real people. You could relate to each of them in a very practical way. Like, yeah, I've heard people like that. I know someone like that. That kind of. The second one, they were cartoonish caricatures of typical 80s action flicks and that sort of thing. And even Ripley was not who she was in the first one. Ripley in the first one was survival mode, doing the best she absolutely could with what she knew. And the second one was over the top, Schwarzenegger-esque, I'm going to go in there the last 5 minutes.
She'd been sent on a mission by a stand-up comic, Sean. Let's put this in perspective, okay? You find yourself in a situation, as a friend of mine would say. And this is what happened.
That is what happens.
You find yourself in a tough spot.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right. Well, anyway, we had other things we wanted to talk about, but we're up against it, and I've had enough of all of you.
Love is so deep.
Well, I have to apportion my time with you, so that it's not too saccharine. And considering I'm going to have to play
so far.
That's right. Considering I'm going to have to put up with your tomfoolery as Space Marines, and I'm going to have to make some concessions. So, thank you, boys. I appreciate it very much. Mark, I appreciate your honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate your honesty as always. Kelly, I appreciate your cynicism as always. And with that,
paint reality.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you guys very much. Rich, I appreciate your thoughts on Alien and all that stuff, or whatever you talked about. All right, boys. Thank you. And I will see you next week. Until then, remember, hugs and kisses. And you live in here.
This concludes our Speak Nerd and Enter broadcast.